worship. In the past 5 years, we have doubled from 400 to 809. To God be the glory.
From Kerala region. The church started in Kerala in 1992. Now we have 10 churches across Kerala.
And recently we had a Kerala Leaders Conference where around 200 disciples attended. And we have many youngsters who are coming forward to serve the kingdom.
That we get to help our brothers and sisters in India, and I know many of us have been there, and some of us are even planning on going back again, and it's just a great opportunity to see the people that we are supporting. They would rather see our faces than just show up or send a newsletter or something like that. We're going to continue our Given series, and today we're going to be talking specifically about what are we giving? What am I giving? What are we as a congregation giving? It's going to be a little weird. I have probably the longest intro to a sermon, and then one point. But we're going to look at what the Bible says specifically about gold. We're going to do a little survey. So I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to hopefully wrap it up and apply it to us. So we're going to jump right in here. What does the Bible say about gold? We're going to specifically look at the Exodus. So we know about Moses, baby Moses in the basket, and Pharaoh is oppressing the Israelites. And then God says, I'm going to set you free. Moses, I need you to go and free my people and take them out. Well, Pharaoh doesn't agree, so God does the plagues. But this is something very interesting throughout that Exodus story. So first off, let's look at some gold. Okay. This is Exodus 3. And I will make the Egyptians favorably disposed toward this people, so that when you leave, you will not go empty-handed. Every woman is to ask her neighbor and any woman living in her house for articles of silver and gold, and for clothing, which you will put on your sons and daughters, and so you will plunder the Egyptians. This is God getting ready for the Exodus. Yeah. It's like, hey, just go to your neighbors and say, do you have any gold? You got any silver? You got any clothes? And God says, I will change their hearts, and they will give you what you ask for. Wow. And thereby, you're going to rob the whole nation of Egypt. Which is kind of crazy, right? He reinforces that because we have, it didn't happen right away. So they did the plagues, and then God said, oh, hey, by the way, don't forget what I said. This is in Exodus 11. Now the Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that, he will let you go from here. And when he does, he will drive you out completely. Tell the people, the men and women alike, not just women now, men and women alike, are to ask their neighbors for articles of silver and gold. The Lord made the Egyptians favorably disposed towards the people. And then, one last time. The Israelites did as Moses instructed and asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold and for clothing. The Lord had made the Egyptians favorably disposed toward the people, and they gave them what they asked for. So they plundered the Egyptians. All right, it's crazy. And you know the story. They go out, cross the Red Sea, all of that stuff. And they're carrying tons of gold. Literal tons of silver and gold and valuables, and they're carrying it where? Into the desert. Now, when they got the gold, they were in a place where the gold meant something.
Right.
And they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We're rich. That would be like taking a bag full of cash to the moon. What's it gonna do? And they have all this gold, and they probably thought, man, we're gonna build our cities, and we're gonna barter, and we're gonna trade, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, we're doing what? We're just wandering? Like, what is all this gold for? It's actually a burden to carry the gold around. That's what I want to talk about. The burden of the blessing.
Come on, bro.
Now they were fired up when God blessed them with the gold and silver and clothing and all that stuff. Until they get out into the desert and they're like, okay, now this is really more of a waste of energy.
Yeah.
What is this? What are we going to do with all this gold?
Right.
And they're struggling. Like, this doesn't make any sense. All right, next phase of the story. We're going to come back to this too. Next phase of the story comes Mount Sinai. Moses goes up to talk to God, and we know what happens down at the base of the mountain where all the Israelites are. Gold comes up again. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said, come, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us up out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him. Aaron answered them, take off the gold earrings that your wives, your sons, and daughters are wearing. Bring them to me. So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took what they handed him and made it into an idol cast in the shape of a calf, fashioning it with a tool. Then they said, these are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt. So what are we going to do with all this gold? It's kind of pointless to carry it around. We can't spend it. I got an idea. We don't know where Moses is. Hey, Aaron, can you make us something with all this gold? And Aaron's like, yeah, bring me those earrings that you stole from all the Egyptians. So they make the calf. Now here's what I want to say about the calf. We know, have any of you heard the phrase stolen valor? This is kind of a military thing. Yeah, it became popular after, in more recent times, when people started dressing up like veterans to get some of the benefits that veterans got. And then actual veterans would see them and be like, wait, your patches are nonsense. Like, I don't know what you think you are, but you're not that. And they question on them, and then these videos are going around, stolen valor, and they get called out for faking it. Well, we do this a lot. So here's the mountain. Moses is at the top, talking to God. The people are at the bottom, worshiping a golden cow. And this is how God starts the Ten Commandments. The whole foundation of the Ten Commandments is this. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. And we've talked about this, when we do our little Ten Commandments lesson in the West. He didn't say, hey, here's some rules. I'm the Lord your God who created the universe. Right. He didn't say, I'm the Lord your God who knows everything. He said, I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of slavery. Right. And then what did Aaron say about the calf? These are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt. This is sobering because it reminds us that we like to give our idols God qualities. And in fact, this is my definition of idolatry. It's not that you like something or even you love something. It's when you go to something for what you should be going to God for. Yeah. When you give a created thing the glory that God wants for himself. Yeah. And so we love to give our idols God qualities. So then, later in the book, Exodus chapters 25 through 30, there's a lot of it, all of a sudden, we start to learn about this thing called the tabernacle.
Yeah.
And God gives very specific instructions about how to build the tabernacle. Guess what? He wants everything made out of gold.
Yeah.
The Ark of the Covenant, the lampstands. He wants this like layered in gold. He wants this made out of gold. Make this out of gold.
Right.
And he never told them in Egypt, save the gold until I tell you to use it for what I'm going to tell you to use it for.
Right.
He gave them a blessing. It was a burden. They made it into an idol.
Wow.
But then God revealed his actual purpose for it.
Right.
Okay? So, God gave them this amazing blessing. He gave them the gold, and this was what they were supposed to do with it.
Right.
But we know what they did do with it. They built this calf.
Yeah.
Built this idol in front of it. And so this is kind of like our introduction. We have the blessing, we have the purpose, and right in between them, we put our idol.
Wow. Come on. Man.
I'm just gonna, and those things, remember, those things come with the burden and the God qualities that we put on our idols. I'm gonna leave this up, and I want us to talk about this for a little bit.
Come on, Ben.
I want us to relate how this plays out over and over and over in our lives.
Come on, help us.
And how we'll pray for a blessing, God gives us the blessing, we never see the purpose because we make an idol out of it. So I'm just going to go down the list with some examples,
Come on,
okay?
Ben.
Come on.
Let's talk about spouses. Praise you, bro.
Come on, Ben.
Anybody pray to be married when they were single? Like, oh God, give me my wife, my husband. Yeah. When you got your spouse, did you praise God, like give God the glory, like, oh man, this is a blessing. I don't deserve this. I married yep. I did. A spouse is a blessing from God. And when someone comes to me and says, hey, I'm thinking about getting married, I have one question. If you marry this person, will they help you get to heaven?
Right.
Or will they hurt you?
Yeah. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
I mean, I get that you like them and you love them and they're cool people. That's all irrelevant. To me, in a Christian marriage, the purpose of getting married should be that they help you spiritually. And if they're not going to help you spiritually, it's probably not what's best for you.
Right.
Come on, dude.
So you pray for a wife or a husband, and you're like, God, please bless me with this. And he does. And then comes the burden of being married. I have equated marriage to winning the lottery, right? Like, you're like, yeah, this is amazing. But if you know someone that actually won the lottery, it changes your life, and it's hard to live in that new space. But you can't complain about it because all the people that didn't win the lottery are like, I don't feel sorry for you. Well, so I tell people, man, being married is hard. And all the singers are like, cry me a river, dude. I don't care if marriage is hard. It's awesome. I get it. Marriage is awesome. It's also hard.
Yeah.
So then comes the burden of the blessing.
Yeah.
Like learning how to communicate with one another. Man, it's really hard to hide from your sin when you're with someone 24/7. I got pretty good at hiding that when it was just the bros in the bro household, and now it's like in my face. And she's challenging me, and she's calling me out, and I don't like it. And then here's the problem. Is when we start to go to another person for what we should be going to God for.
Amen.
I don't know how to deal with this burden, and so we start believing what the world tells us about soulmates, like, oh, you should complete me, you should fulfill my whole soul, and you should be what provides me safety and security.
Come on, Ben.
And that's not what a spouse is for. Come on. And so women, if there's a man that you think is gonna complete, like fulfill you, or be there, or never hurt you, that is not true. Those are qualities of God. And God wants you to go to Him for those things. And He just wants me and my wife to help each other stay faithful. But then all of a sudden it becomes an idol. We never achieve purpose. Let's talk about jobs and school.
Okay. Come on, Ben.
Anybody ever prayed to get a job that they have or had? Yeah, or pray to get into their school, or pray for good grades, or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember praying for a job. What's the purpose of that? Like, why did God give you that job? Well, maybe it was just very simple. I just need you to pay the bills and provide for your family. It's not that deep. Pay the bills, provide for your family, feed your kids. Or maybe it's like, well, there's people there that need to know about me. I put you there to talk to them.
There you go.
That's why you're at that job. That's why I gave you that blessing. But you know what we didn't pray for? We didn't pray for the burden. We didn't pray for the, 70-hour weeks, and we didn't pray for the boss that doesn't like us, and we didn't pray for the person that's trying to flirt with you, and we didn't pray for any of that. And so you start to think, how am I going to live in this burdensome blessing? Like, I prayed for a God, but it's not that fun. And we're like the Israelites, carrying around all the gold in the desert.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I almost didn't have this.
Come on, bro.
I think a big one for guys is this fear of failure.
Come on.
We tie our identity and our validation to our jobs.
Come on, bro.
If you're in school, your school starts to take on a certain type of mastery that God may not want it to have over you.
Right.
We deal with that. University of Michigan. University of Michigan says go here, I go there. University of Michigan says jump, I say hi hi. It's just, there's a certain amount of they got you.
Yeah.
And so now you start giving them these God qualities that you shouldn't be giving them. Your self-worth is tied to your degree. If I lose my job, then what good am I? You start to feel like a failure. And then it's an idol. Here's another one. Some of us are extremely talented people.
Yeah.
People of great skill, great ability. And that is a blessing from God.
Yep.
God gave you, whether it's intelligence, just raw brain power, or maybe it's a certain actual skill that you can do. And there's a purpose that God has for that. And yet, when we think, well, I want some of the glory. I need some praise. I need people to respect me for what I am and I can do. And then we start building an idol out of those things.
Come on, Ben.
But maybe God just wanted you to be excellent at something so that you would have a platform to preach the gospel. Yeah. And when we take our excellence and we turn that into our idol, we never achieve our purpose.
Right. It's good stuff, bro. Come on.
And finally, I just want to talk about money.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, money is a weird thing, guys.
Yeah.
And I'll say it's a blessing. It's not always a blessing. Proverbs 30, verses 8 and 9 says, "Don't give me poverty or wealth.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I might have too much and disown you." That's not a prayer we pray. You should.
Amen.
The Greek word that we get economy from is oikonomia. And we just transliterate it. It sounds like economy. And that's where we get it. But the actual definition of that word is stewardship. It's taking care of things, managing. And all of your resources are God's. And He blesses you with them. And yet we don't like the stewardship. We want the ownership. Like, wow. Well, this is mine. I earned this. I can do what I want with this.
Come on, man.
And we are in a culture that is insanely materialistic. And so some of you, if you haven't already, you will go to a mortgage guy maybe and say, hey, I'd like to buy a house. He'll pre-approve you for a house you should not buy. Like, I'll give you, $750,000. Don't give $750,000. But we need to be stewards. We look around and everybody has everything that you want. You're like, I want some of that.
Come on.
I'm driving like a busted Focus I got off Craigslist and the bumper's hanging off and people are like, the bumper looks really bad, bro. And yeah, I see, we rented, when we were on vacation, we rented a Nissan Altima. You would have thought I was driving a Porsche. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I felt like I was in a luxury car, and people who actually drive luxury cars would probably be embarrassed of a Nissan Altima. But I was like, this is fancy. But there's this pull that's like, I want that for myself. And we live in a culture that's always going to be pulling us to want. So you benefit from a fabulous direct deposit. And every 2 weeks, just the money pops up in your bank account. And you're like, there's all these things I can spend.
Come on, Ben.
But contentment is that burden. It is hard to navigate 2019 America and not spend every penny we have trying to keep up with everyone else.
Come on.
And then what do we do with our money? We start saying, it's what will save me. It's where I get my security from. Now, if I were to ask you, good church-going folk, should you put your trust in the Lord or in your bank account? We'd all say the right answer. We know, I should trust in the Lord, Ben. Yep, good job. In your life,
There you go.
when you have a lot of money in the bank, it's easier to trust the Lord. And then when you have no money in the bank, it's hard to trust the Lord. So what does the Lord feel about your answer?
Nice question.
The Lord is probably saying, man, you really don't trust me. Start to think, money will save me. Money will be my fortress and my refuge. As long as I can pay the bills, I'm safe. That's not what God wants for our lives.
Amen.
We make an idol out of the blessings. So then we never achieve the purpose. So what are some of those purposes? I think of, when it comes to the school job thing, I think of Bruce Santamore, who used to be here. Who remembers Bruce? Went to med school, became a doctor, and he was so focused on the purpose, he ended up giving it all up and going to run a hope hospital in Cambodia.
Wow.
But some of us, we can't even give up our little jobs to do something spiritual.
Come on.
Come on, bro. Come on.
I think a talent and ability, there's a lot of you. But I just wanted to call out Sean Diggs, who's a PhD student at U of M. he's a smart guy. Super smart guy. You come to our campus Devo, he'll fellowship with the commuter student from the community college. He's not holding it up like some part of his identity.
Right.
He's not using it to look down on other people.
Right. Yeah. Come on, Ben.
He's focused on his purpose.
Amen.
So I just want to roll all this up into one question for you.
Okay.
Are you fulfilling your purpose?
Right.
How are you doing at fulfilling your purpose? What is my purpose, Ben? Simple. Know God, serve God. Well, I don't feel very blessed. My life is really hard. We are so blessed.
Yep.
You got here. We're in a lit building. If it was 90 degrees outside, it would be totally comfortable here.
Yeah.
I'd say probably a good majority of us have some money in a checking or savings account somewhere. You're in the top % of the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now extrapolate that over all of history. You're in the top, millionth, billionth of human population. You're the richest of the rich that's ever lived.
Help us out, Ben.
You're like, well, I don't believe you. You could pull out of your pocket right now this magic little box.
Yep.
It's got the answer to any question you could ever ask. It can get you anywhere you want to go. You can talk to anyone you want to talk to. And it's got 50 versions of the Bible on it. And you use it for entertainment and to pick fights with people online. We are so blessed, and we're not taking advantage of it. If you got hit right out here by a car, someone would pull out their magic box, call someone, and ambulance would come and take you to the hospital. It would be in the best medical care across human history that's almost ever existed.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything to deserve that. Most Americans just turn on a faucet, clean water. I know there are some that can't. You didn't plumb those things. You didn't dig those wells. You didn't set up those water treatment plants. You're benefiting from them.
Come on, man.
We're so privileged, and yet our privilege makes us prideful and ungrateful.
Mercy.
The question is never, when will God bless my life?
Yes.
The question is always, what am I doing with the blessings He's already given me? And there still might be some people who fight me, and you can come and talk to me afterwards. I know life is not easy. My answer is, it's not supposed to be.
Come on.
But God's ultimate blessing was in Jesus.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything to deserve that.
Right.
Here's all I want to say, family. I want us to be able to show the world that, one, we see our blessings. We're not blind to them. We're eager to share them with other people. That we understand that there is a burden that comes with just being alive. We get it, and we're okay with the burden. And that we patiently wait so that all of those blessings will fulfill their purpose. We patiently persevere. We listen to God. And we show a lost and hurting world His love. Amen? I love you guys. Thank you so much.
That was an awesome sermon. Okay. Thank you, Ben. I just wanted to crystallize some thoughts that I believe God was telling me as I was listening to the word being preached. Every blessing has a burden. Every blessing has a purpose. And every blessing can be an idol. I don't know about you, but when I was sitting there, I was thinking about how often I turn God's blessings in my life into an idol. How often I hold that and prioritize that and enjoy it to the degree where I forget or I don't think about God and I don't think about the purpose that God has for them. At this time, at our service, we're going to take our collection. On top of our regular collection, for those of us that are here for the first time or second time, once every year, the Detroit Church of Christ takes a special missions collection that it goes specifically to what we just saw in the video earlier, to go to help the work in India. These are real people. Many of us have traveled there. Every year, disciples from India come here to visit us. These are people that are dependent on the contribution that we give to sustain their full-time ministry staff. As well, that money goes to support the mission work all across the Midwest. It has gone to places like Des Moines, Iowa, where we sent Colin and Beth Sherrill, who are ministers here in Detroit. It goes to some of the smaller churches that can't afford full-time ministry staff. We send a portion of that to help people with camps, and then as well, we continue to use those the money that goes above and beyond that to help the mission work here in Michigan. So at this point, I'm going to have a prayer, and the collection will be passed. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we lift up our hearts to you, asking that we can realize the blessing, understand that there's a burden to that blessing that we need to bear, and I pray that we fulfill the purpose of your blessing. The encouragement, our health, our wealth, our family, our friendship, to fulfill your purpose. And help it never to be an idol, God. I pray you bless the money that we're giving. I pray that it goes to meet needs. I pray that you'll use this, that people will come to know you. In your son's name we pray. Amen. So as the treasury